Welcome back to the O Show. Everything crypto every day. I'm your host. You guys should know who I am. Disclaimer, I've got some amazing gentlemen here with me today, and they're going to intro themselves in a moment. I remember looking at the ICP chart because we do coin requests. Basically, I do a live stream on Sundays, and we cover Bitcoin weekly close, and then I'll take altcoin requests, from the community. And we had some ICP requests, so I took a look at the chart. I remember back then, and it literally looked like a pump and dump. And I just remember looking at it like, I'm not going to touch this, because when I'm in the trader mindset and I'm looking at a chart and I'm, doing my technicals for my trading and investing journal, I do like the technicals and the fundamentals. Like just looking at the technicals, it didn't even want to make me look at the fundamentals because the chart was so ugly. It looked like somebody pumped that thing up and then dumped it like 90%. And generally when you see that in our industry, it's a rug pull. Like you automatically think that the team are scammers, that the people associated with the project are scammers, but in ICP's instance, it wasn't.
ICP was always interesting to me. It was just when it launched, I thought it would do well, and then all of a sudden it collapsed. And everybody's saying it's a scam and all this, and so it was one I was much more interested in. I knew the whole story, I just didn't know the real story. I knew what we were being told about everything. So the charts were something that really kind of put that in perspective for me to kind of look at those rising prices and the collapse and the shorting and all that. So
the biggest challenge for the Internet Computer Protocol came immediately after the Genesis launch of ICP. The narrative at that time was that it's branded as a rug pull scam. I want you guys to understand the entirety of how I was able to figure out that Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, Alameda Research, were creating synthetic assets to wash projects out like ICP, Ronin Network, and a ton more. And it all started on January 21st, 2022.
My name is Jeff. I have a channel called Bitcoin Renegade, and it's been a dream of mine to be on the WendyO show.
And so that led me to meeting you on her show.
Which was insane.
It was crazy, man.
2 years ago.
And you reached out, like I was so nervous that I probably wouldn't have reached out to you. Like I didn't know you, and it's crypto. So, but you were on CryptoWendy's show, and you reached out to me, and I was like, hey, let's see who this guy is, and then you just seemed like a cool dude, and I was like, man, you're cool, so I'm gonna give you the DL, man. Yeah. And then you can do your research and find out if this is everything that I say it is. Create a wallet, try it, right? That's what I told you.
And I kept looking at that chart thinking, damn, man, I can't expose my audience to this. So anything I Googled or searched for on YouTube at the time was saying that it was a scam. And I decided to one day just kind of low-key play around in the ICP ecosystem and quickly realized that this thing was the Bugatti of blockchains. And really, when it came down to it, I didn't realize this at the time. But now looking back, there are a lot of dirty journalists who are very much pay to play.
I mean, I think they had been specifically hired for this one. It wasn't that they were just randomly scanning blockchain. Being hired.
How do you prevent this use? I won't start. I won't you because you're my business rival. I take the truth, I find that information and I send it to the police or whatever.
Articles from the New York Times were the worst. There was also a really sketchy video from an unknown company at the time named Arkham Intelligence, which made ridiculous claims about the launch with some really bad graphs intense music and data.
Arkham Intelligence was absolutely rotten, and it was rotten of New York Times to not fact check and verify this source.
When it comes to the data side of things that Arkham was shelling out in those videos, it's kind of interesting that they have still, to this day, omitted the ICP and Ronin Network spot data from their Explorer. Does that raise some red flags? To this day, they still omit that. And in that video, they had all sorts of data that they used to try to crush Dfinity in the internet computer. Why is this? Why is this? I'm genuinely interested. But I needed to know why the price went down so much after the ICP token launched. Did all the tokens retrace that badly, or was this just like an isolated incident? So in early April, May of 2021, I had been telling my audience on YouTube, be on the lookout. I think that there's a massive crash coming. Why? Because there is a very bearish, massive rising wedge on the Bitcoin charts. And it didn't occur to me until I connected the dots that Internet Computer was launched at the very worst time possible. It's a pure fact of the matter that any project launching on or around May 10th would have gotten hosed very badly in the following weeks or coming months. But regardless, I needed to find out if 80% retracements are just a norm in this crazy world we know as crypto. I decided to take a look at the top 50 blockchains at that time in 2021, 2022, and analyze post-launch charts. And really, I looked at when the token launched down to the very first reversal low.
And then this happened. A token dropping over 90% in the first month after launch is highly unusual.
This is in fact very common. VeChain retraced 99% out of the gates. Aave, 99%. Cardano, 98%. Dogecoin, 95%. HBAR, 96%. XRP, 90%. Near, 87%. ICP ultimately went on to retrace 96%. But the list goes on and on. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. But I still needed to find out as much information as I possibly could about the launch. So I basically scoured the internet looking for information that would tell me all of the exchanges that listed the ICP spot token at launch on May 10th, 2021. My main focus was to study the price exchange data and look for any anomalies that might stick out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find anything out of the ordinary, but I realized that I needed to look at this from a broader scope because futures trading is a thing in crypto. And I realized that I would need to look at all of the exchanges that offered futures trading on ICP at or around the launch. The 6 that I analyzed, and they were the only ones that I could find at the time, were Delta, OKX, BitGet, Binance, Huobi, and FTX. Now, I started kind of digging around in all the futures exchange data, and the last exchange I audited was FTX. The first thing that kind of gave me a red flag was I noticed that FTX didn't show up on my spot price audit of all of the exchanges, but now it's showing up on my futures audit. I thought this was kind of odd that an exchange would offer perpetual futures but not spot trading of that same token. And when I audited FTX's futures data, I noticed that FTX listed perpetual futures trading of ICP 4 days before the token even launched. What concerned me even more was that the price of ICP had been artificially pumped by over 440% prior to the launch of the ICP token. But I needed to know if these listings in the perpetual futures market prior to a token launch was a common thing. So I went through all of the Delta, OKX, BitGet, Binance, Huobi, and FTX's prior 50 perpetual futures listings. I must have went through 300 different listings looking at all this data. Interestingly enough though, none of the other exchanges had ever listed any perpetual futures trading ahead of a token launch. But here FTX is with 2 incidents of this. I found out that they listed perpetual futures trading 4 days ahead on ICP and 20 days ahead on Axie Infinity's Ronin Network. This immediately raised red flags for me. Fact is, I knew very little about Sam, FTX, Alameda Research at the time. I started kind of looking into what Sam was investing his money into, and Sam had been dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the Solana blockchain and ecosystem. And with all due respect to the Solana blockchain, its leadership, its ecosystem, the community, the launch of the internet computer, which is a far superior blockchain, was very much a direct threat to Sam's investments. And I started to think that maybe FTX didn't offer spot tokens on their exchange because if their users started buying the tokens, it would interfere with their perpetual futures market manipulation scheme. The next question I had, why Ronin Network? I had to research what Axie Infinity and Ronin Network were.
Ronin Network at the time and Axie Infinity were absolutely killing it back in those days. They were at top of the game. They were the project that whenever you talked about NFTs, that they were brought up. So you would think that they would explode out of the gate on their IPO, not just completely just fall apart like that. It's unusual, and it might be. I mean, you could definitely say the circumstantial doubt was in my mind about certain things, but there's some pretty big circumstances there. And absolutely, they were a big competitor to Solana. And we're talking about a single chain dedicated to a single project that was outcompeting an entire ecosystem of NFTs. So for Sam Bankman to have an incentive to launch an attack on them, I mean, the motive is absolutely there.
NFTs, as we know it, were all the rage in 2021. It was crazy. And at the time, Axie Infinity was the #1 all-time NFT collection by sales volume at over $4 billion in sales. CryptoPunks was second, Bored Ape Yacht Club third, Mutant Ape Yacht Club ranked fourth. When it came down to all-time blockchain NFT sales volume, Ethereum ranks first, Ronin Network ranked second, and Solana was far behind, respectively, at rank #3. I decided to look at the Ronin Network launch and the charts on FTX, and like I said, FTX launched perpetual futures on Ronin Network 20 days before it launched. Within that 20 days prior to the Ronin Network token launch, the value of the RON token decreased 41% in the perpetual futures market. It's kind of strange that the value of a token can decrease at all, especially if it's not even out yet. What FTX did was create a tidal wave of selling pressure prior to the launch of the RON token. And a few hours before the RON token launched, guess what? The price of RON spiked dramatically. And over the next week, it deteriorated and lost another 56% in value. The ICP and the RON chart, they look almost identical. It's interesting here that mysteriously, Axie Infinity's Ronin Network bridge would get hacked a month later for $650 million. Although I can't prove this, this is very speculative. I suspect that Sam, FTX, and Alameda had something to do with that. Like maybe connecting some hackers, with a vulnerability in the Ronin Network code that Sam FTX Alameda might have uncovered.
When you showed me the data, it gave kind of a chill to my spine, right? Because some of it could be explained by coincidence, but this is the thing. When you have 5, 6 coincidences all line up in a row like that, the chances of that happening are so low, it's really damning.
I ended up drafting several articles called The Hitman of Crypto. This was a direct kneecap shot at one of the biggest influencers in all of crypto, Sam Bankman-Fried. After Jordan peer-reviewed my work, I released several YouTube videos, and the findings through these articles, I can remember the shockwaves that went through the ICP community. I had people from Dfinity contacting me, asking for more information. There was a lot of excitement about this information that was coming to light. The problem was that since the broader cryptoverse still saw ICP as a scam, Sam Bankman as this golden boy, nobody cared outside of the ICP ecosystem. They just didn't. At that time, I was extremely frustrated because I felt like I had the smoking gun to a murder trial and they would not let me admit it as evidence. Months go by, and my investigative research on FTX really never gained too much traction outside of the ICP ecosystem. But one day I'm sitting around and I'm watching Ben Armstrong, Bitboy Crypto, his live stream, and he absolutely went off on Sam Bankman-Fried. Something about stealing Ben's politician.
This bag is out here trying to tell you that only the know what to do. Only the suits. Only the people who have all the money. They're the ones who can determine what happens. No, our bill is for the people. And you're gonna find this out. We've got the funding for it, and it's coming out. But guess what? Things are complicated now. You wanna know why? Because let me tell you what FTX did. Let me tell you what Sam Bankman-Fried did. Okay, this guy took our bill, stole language from it, actually stole language from our California state bill. Our California state bill stole language from it and put it in their bill, what they're doing, okay?
We were bringing a bill for a digital asset commission where we're going to bring in a commission of 5 to 7 people. There's going to work with CFTC. There's going to be some crypto people, some lawyers, some experts, some Binance people, some commissioners from the CFTC. And we wanted this board to kind of do crypto regulation. And so we put that to FTX. We gave that to FTX, to Sam, to look at maybe to fund our bill. And they stole a lot of the ideas out of it. And then they tried to steal Barbara Boxer from us, which is one of our lobbyists. And I found out about it. And she didn't go with him for good reason. Barbara Boxer obviously is not currently a politician, but a long record. And I think a lot of people know, I mean, Sam bribes people all the time. And she didn't take the bait, so good on her. And she reported lobbying company what they had said. And from there, I realized he was actually trying to steal and rug pull my entire plan and then put something different in. And we had talked to Brett Harrison, and I think we had some connection with Sam himself. And Mark Wetjen was the guy there at FTX in charge of their regulation and their funding and lobbying efforts. And so he was involved in this. He was the one who actually talked to Barbara and tried to take her. And so I was angry about this because we're looking for help and you just were predatory on me. And now the whole entire narrative changed. And actually, he did in fact steal my bill. He wasn't saying what he was trying to do, but he stole the opportunity from me. Because once FTX occurred, obviously, it put a halt on everything I was doing politically.
There was only one other person in this world at that time that wanted Sam Bankman-Fried as bad as I did. And at this point, I was exhausted trying to get this information out over many months. I remember saying, when I sat down to send Ben a DM as he was going off on his Rager live streams, that this is going to be the last time I'm ever going to try to bring this information to light. Usually these larger channels do not return random messages to people that they don't know, but Ben sent a simple response, "You have information." And I got this response as I was laying in bed checking CryptoX for the last time before I went to sleep. I saw this, and I may or may not have been butt naked, but I jumped out of my bed, flew into my office chair, started sending Ben all this information. Everything I had, how I found it, it's just tons of messages. Simple response back, I'll have my team look at it. And that was it. And that was it. Here I've got some sort of lifeline now, which was great. I was up the rest of the night wondering what was gonna happen next. I had no clue. The next day, I tune into Ben's live stream.
I'm going to do a review on ICP and do a fair shake. Well, coincidentally, what if their bad reputation is because of Sam Bankman-Fried? Got a lot of evidence to suggest that there was an orchestrated plan to crush ICP. I got someone last night randomly sent me message after message with chart after chart with proof over proof. Now, we've got to verify all this to be real and authentic before we do it. We're doing that today, and then we're going to record that video today, and that video is going to come out on Saturday. I was given information, charts, and analysis from a reliable source who wants to stay anonymous for the purpose of this video. But me, my research team, and my fact checkers, well, we've checked this out, and the story is legit. FTX has been pumping up the price of tokens prior to their launch, and then dumping on retail investors and key projects in the space. Their targets so far? Axie Infinity and ICP.
I can remember after Ben's live stream, I jumped out of my office chair screaming and cheering. Finally, the word has been sent out to a massive audience thanks to Ben. And to Ben's credit, he went on to discovering that FTX was involved in hosing lots of other projects.
Once I started going viral and there's a lot of questions around FTX, now all Sam's enemies start coming to me. And I start getting information left and right. And I start piecing together what's happening. It's how I hooked up with New Genesis. It's how I hooked up with you. It's how I hooked up with Reef. It's how I hooked up with several other projects that I can't even talk about who didn't want to go public with this stuff. Major projects, top 100, top 20 projects. Well, the one-time top 20 project at least. And so it was just kind of thing where I just started getting this information. And for me, I've always been quality over quantity. Like, I love the fact that I have my DMs open where anyone can send DMs, but it goes to a special folder. So I just go through them every once in a while, and sometimes it takes days to go through them. I just dig through and I find stuff. And when there's active stuff going on, I'm doing it more because I'm getting more messages and there might be good information. I didn't know who you were. I had no idea who you were. But I did know that you were a person that was sending me something, and I clicked on the video and was like, wait, this guy's got something here.
So when it comes down to it, after Ben's live streams, people understood that FTX was facing some insolvency issues and had printed lots of synthetic tokens for its users on its exchange. Okay, so it is now March 11th, 1:14 a.m. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I'm here in Las Vegas, and it's been going down. And I've got a gentleman sitting here that was very integral after I had discovered what I discovered with ICP and Ronin Network. And I was supposed to meet up with you in Tokyo, Japan, but obviously things didn't work out. We are exercising the most anonymity with this because we're not going to jeopardize your identity, and like I promise, like I will uphold the like 100% the most ethical journalistic standards. I don't even know who you are. There's no way I can even contact you because I've tried contacting you, especially after like the Tokyo thing, and now you're here. And this is the last night of the shoot in Vegas. I got to fly out in the morning. So thank you for being here. I didn't think that I would ever be sitting here with you. But when it comes down to it, you were telling me, I believe you saw one of my videos on FTX, Ronin Network, and ICP, and you reached out to me, and like some of the stuff that you were telling me that was going on was just like crazy. So like, what were the first things that you kind of noticed, like, or you and your people noticed? about FTX?
We caught on to FTX early on. In particular, there was a project that contacted us when they got impacted by FTX.
So a project that was trying to work with FTX, that the deal fell through.
Right, so what happened is FTX would recruit projects to the exchange so that they could act as a market maker for the token. FTX typically would require a large percentage of tokens up front for liquidity purposes. They would also require the source code to the tokens, which is, well, a red flag. What FTX would do is then sell these tokens on other exchanges once they got listed using their enterprise accounts. Then they would create synthetic assets to trade on their own exchange, on FTX.
And that's kind of what we saw. Like, that was one of the first things that I saw when it came down to FTX. Basically bombing out ICP and Ronin Network, like Reef, Celsius, like there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but it was like more on the perpetual future side of things where they were creating these synthetics. And that's kind of what I discovered early on, was that there's creating tokens that aren't even in existence. Like the chain's not even, like the coin's not even trading.
Exactly. Now, we know this to be the case, because one project actually backed out with FTX. And under the agreements that the two parties would separate, then the tokens would be returned. FTX attempted to return all the tokens to the project, but the chain wouldn't accept them.
Why?
Well, they had given FTX a slightly altered source code.
The chain just wouldn't accept the liquidity tokens that they had given them because FTX had sold those tokens on an enterprise account and then had minted these synthetic tokens and tried to send them back to the project. So that's what happened.
Infinite money glitch.
And it had moved all the legitimate tokens off of the exchange or given them away or squandered them somewhere. FTX collapses a month later. Sadly, the circumstances of FTX's collapse validated all this research that I had done 8 months earlier. And when you look at all these YouTube videos or articles now, the rug pull articles and claims that plagued the internet computer and Dfinity are gone. To Dfinity's credit, they have not stopped shipping incredible products and updates to the IC. But when it comes down to reversing this terrible rug pull claim, the community is the ones that put all the hard work in. They have been out there sharing some of this work, educating the cryptoverse, and I don't think there has ever been a greater comeback. And guys, that's the story of how I cracked FTX and how all this stuff came to light. It's by far one of the most crazy experiences of my life. And my advice is that whenever you're doing your own research, investigate everything. When you are doing your research, it's not as simple as watching YouTube, TikTok, or scrolling X. Sure, that's helpful. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for clicking that buy and sell button, and you better make damn sure you're buying something good. It's cost me quite a bit of money to create this film. When it comes down to it though, at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's about providing information that is for the greater good of the internet computer community, ecosystem, Dfinity. This is all I care about.
I think I found the top tier, a whole different ball game. I'm loving what we got here, cause everything is on chain. 100,
keep it 100. The internet computer got anything you wanted. It's the everything blockchain. It really is decentralized, simplified, no fees to leave you penalized. Big time, scalability is infinite. You never gotta leave the ecosystem once you enter it. I'm deep diving, checking out the dashboard. They got every single thing that I could ask for, plus more. Utility, I want that. The canister structure is more than a smart contract. I bought the dip cause it's a different type of crypto. I had a little bit, but it's legit. I'm about to get more. The backbone of Web3 is built to be the #1. And time will see, but me, I'm in it for the long run. I hodl ICP, yeah, I hodl ICP. As far as I can see, the future's looking bright to me. I hodl ICP, yeah, I hodl ICP. The future Web3 is feeling real nice to me. Decentralized cloud and it don't need oracles. They found a way to bundle codes and then storage those. Check it, bro, yeah, I'm talking about the technicals. The NFTs are way more than collectibles. And nah, this ain't a meme or a shitcoin. Look at how they bringing superpowers straight to Bitcoin. A few hundred dApps already built on it. One day there will probably be a mill on it. Meanwhile, I get rewards from the governance. Tell Dominic Williams that I am loving this. More transactions than any chain and this real. They built the world computer and it's a big deal. I hodl ICP, yeah, I hodl ICP. As far as I can see, the future's looking bright to me. I hodl ICP, yeah, I hodl ICP. The future Web3 is feeling real nice.